Alright, I'm done with WoWs for now, got my builds ready, stock up on items, and now we're just waiting for the new content to come. Which, by the way, congratulations to you guys who have been wanting it for years. Seems like you guys are gonna be getting Seikrets in the future. However, we're gonna talk about one of the best Monster Hunter games for its time, and that game is Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. What's up everyone, my name is Tigrex, Twitch streamer, guitar shredder, and the wielder of bone sticks with meaty tips. If you enjoy these types of videos, then consider supporting me on Twitch and or Patreon, as it would help me and help keep the content going. All links in the description below. So Freedom Unite! I have played and beaten this game in the past, and that was... damn, I'm old. And despite not beating it at the time, I did originally play this game when it first came out, which was... But it's fine, because we're doing a retrospective on this, and like the previous one, we are aiming to beat the flagship monsters, which are Tigrex and Garuga. Now, why two flagships? Because Freedom Unite, which has Garuga as the flagship, is the expanded version of Freedom 2, which has Tigrex as the flagship. Which means that this game has extra content, so if you're familiar with Monster Hunter World and Rise, then Freedom Unite is to Freedom 2, what Iceborne is to World, and Sunbreak to Rise. Without further ado, let's watch the opening cutscene. As seen, it showed us the preparation of the hunter's camp, the mining, the capturing of monsters, the crafting of new gear and feline comrades, and the flagship itself, Garuga. We then created a character with a usual name, and the game asks if whether we are a beginner or not. And me being someone that has already played this game, I will select no, and if you've chosen yes, then the game would bring you to the tutorial, similar to how you start Monster Hunter 1. By the way, if you haven't checked that video out, then, you know, link in the description. However, that's fine, because with this video, I will be explaining the basics. Now, I will mention that in the Monster Hunter 1 and the Monster Hunter 2 video, I didn't really explain a lot of the basics because I was going through them as someone who has already experienced Monster Hunter as a whole, and forgot that there may be people who has never played any Monster Hunter games in the past potentially watching them. And with that, I really do hope to make it up to you guys with this video. And with all that being said, we will now begin the game with an in-game opening cutscene. After getting yeeted by the monster, we then wake up only to be told to get more rest, and then the game shows us around the village. We then wake up for realist time, check the inventory, and oh look! Look! Armor! Extra starting weapons! We are no longer stuck with the sword and shield! I then wore the armor, chose the longsword as my weapon, and then left the house to check the village, and I will say that the theme song of this village really hits the nostalgia. We then talk to some NPCs, and over here is the blacksmith, who is responsible for crafting your weapons and armor, given you have the money and the materials, that is. And next to him is his partner, who sells some weapons and armor, albeit just the simple ones and not the advanced ones. Over here is the villager's merchant, who sells simple items and more, whereas this NPC right here is the wandering merchant who sells items that are slightly rarer to the previous merchant. And keep in mind that she sometimes changes the items she sells after you've done a quest, so don't forget to check her wares. You might need what she has. Lastly is the village elder, who is responsible with giving us the quest, and ooh, free money. Okay, me likey. Now we'll go and check out the gathering hub, which is led by the entrance that's next to the wandering merchant. And in case you're wondering what this place is for, it is a hub for multiplayer gameplay. You see, you can technically go in the quest here alone, as there is the option to enter the hub offline if you want to do them solo, and online for multiplayer. And usually the first few tiers of quests in here are very similar to the ones that the elder gives. However, there are some differences, because you may be curious as to why should you do the quest from the elder we can do the ones in the hub instead, since they're likely the same despite being in different orders. You see, whenever you do the quest from the elder, usually it would provide the ability to unlock more farm upgrades, which we'll get into later, and expand the merchandise of the town's merchants and more. In addition to that, there are certain monsters that you could only fight on quests that were given by the quest givers in the village as opposed to the gathering hub. And with that being said, this does not make the gathering hub quests unworthy, because you get to do more quests, fight more monsters, as well as monsters that are only available in the quests from the gathering hub, and therefore even stronger gear. However, if you do decide to do them solo, just keep in mind that due to the fact that this is essentially the multiplayer hub, makes all the quests match its intended use. That means if you were to fight a 2-star monster from the village quest, and then you fight the same exact monster as a 2-star low rank quest in the gathering hub, you will notice that it does slightly more damage and has slightly more health than its village quest counterparts. Alright, everyone got the multiplayer stuff? You got it? Okay, good. No, Mike, not every monster is named Rathalos. They have different names. In addition to all that, we have an NPC that sells items, similar to the village merchant. I then went back outside and Pookie! Oh, who's the little cutie Pookie? After getting distracted by the actually good bull drone, we then accepted one of the first quests the elder has me do, and it involves us retrieving 5 mountain herbs. We are now in the quest and have a user interface. On the top left is the quest timer, next to it is the health and stamina, under that is our weapon sharpness and our character name along with the weapon icon with its own color. And if you were to be playing online, you'd be seeing the other players' names as well as the color of their weapon icons next to it so that you can track them in a minimap. On the lower right corner is our item selection. However, we don't have any items and no map. So where do we get them? Well, usually in quests, you'd be getting them from this blue box right here, and they would give you some free items. Usually you'll be including some healing potions, rations, mini whetstones, maps, and more. And now we can select the items and can navigate the area with the map. We also have gestures, which you could access in the start menu, and we're using it to wave to our friend, the Balloon Boy. Now we discuss about the controls, because unlike the PS2 games, the controls here are arguably better. Your analog stick is a movement, the directional pads are the camera controls, the L button is to reset the camera and when you tap it, and if you hold it, you can unlock the item bar, which allows you to select other items by cycling them left and right with square and circle. Now do keep in mind that this would only apply for usable and consumable items and not materials or monster parts. Now for the face buttons, due to the fact that the PSP only has one analog stick, would make it so that it is impossible to play Monster Hunter as the original versions use the right analog stick for attacking. For this game, as well as the other PSP Monster Hunter games, the face buttons are used for interaction and combat instead. So if your weapon is sheathed, the X button makes you dodge roll when you're moving and makes you crouch when you are not. Square is for using the selected item, circle is for interaction, whether it's to grab an herb from the floor or attach to a climbable spot, and triangle is used to unsheath your weapon when you're not moving and unsheathing it to an opening strike when you are. And lastly, the R button is for sprinting. Now when your weapon is unsheathed, X no longer makes you crouch when you're not moving, but you still get to do dodge rolls. Square is to sheath said weapon, triangle is for your normal attacks, circle for light attacks, and R for your special action or heavy attack, depending on the weapon you're using. And if you've watched the Monster Hunter 2 video, yes, this is the same snowy mountain map from that game. I then left the camp, murdered some Popos, and carved them for raw meat. Now you may notice that the sharpness icon changed. That's because whenever you strike an attack with your melee weapons, you lose sharpness in the process, and when you do lose sharpness, you do lose damage, and potentially get to the point where your attacks are being deflected as opposed to getting through. So to maintain high damage outputs, you'd have to use whetstones or item equivalents to them to sharpen your melee weapons. And if you want to increase your weapon sharpness, then you'd have to craft stronger weapons or upgrade your current ones, and to do that option, you'd have to progress through the quest line to beat harder monsters in order to unlock those choices. So the better the weapon means the better sharpness, which also means higher the damage. So make sure to get some whetstones from the shop or grab them from the box to sharpen your weapons, folks. It's basically more damage. I then proceeded to grab some herbs and then proceeded to climb up these vines. Now before we continue, let me tell you that you can climb faster by holding the R button. However, it does use up your stamina, so remember to watch it, because if you run out of stamina while climbing, you fall down. And if you get hit while climbing, you also fall down. Now you can see that I'm currently consuming a ration, which causes my maximum stamina to increase, which would then allow you to dodge, sprint, and do stamina consuming attacks even more. However, the main reason is due to the fact that your maximum stamina decreases every 5 to 6 minutes during a quest. And keep that in mind that rare steaks, well done steaks, as well as other food items help increase your stamina. And besides that, you may see that I'm currently consuming a hot drink. This is because we are in the cold areas of this map. So if you ignore that, your maximum stamina will decrease even faster. However, I completely forgot that my current armor set gives us immunity to cold environments. So that means that we get free hot drinks.
Woo! Yeah!
I then went to this spot and picked up exactly 5 mountain herbs. However, I decided to use this time to gather more items. You see, whenever you start a new Monster Hunter game, you usually don't have anything, or at least very little to start with. So it is highly advised that you gather some resources as you go, especially herbs and blue mushrooms, because they make potions, and honey, so you can make those potions heal you even more by making them into mega potions. And that's just a few examples. So I spent more time to gather more items, went to the caverns, got rid of some of the annoying raptors, and grabbed the wyvern egg. Now I know a lot of people get PTSD when grabbing a wyvern's egg. This is due to the fact that a quest in Monster 1, where there's a quest that has you retrieve one of them, is usually a nightmare to deal with because every single enemy, or even not your enemies, see you as one the moment you're carrying an egg. And they will try to stop you no matter what. I then carefully jump down and keep walking as if I'm stealing an old TV from Walmart, and we safely got back to the camp and put all the retrieve items in the red box. And look, I got some extra reward for collecting more than the required amount of the items. We then got back to the village, cleared the inventory, and... Whoa, damn, it's fine. We then accept another fetch quest, and this time it has us retrieve 3 Anteka antlers. I, as per usual, grab everything inside while also getting the quest items, then got back to the camp, turned in the antlers, and completed the quest. And oh, look, we got a new NPC. You see, this is the NPC recruiter, and she's responsible for, well, recruiting the felines, and they could either be feline chefs or feline comrades. And what they do, so when you hire a feline chef, you unlock the feline kitchen, the feline kitchen, and this kitchen is located at the back of your house, and in here you choose which foods to eat, and different combinations will provide different bonuses like extra maximum health, stamina. Sometimes it increases your stats like attack, defense, and sometimes more resistances. However, if you choose the wrong food combinations, you get no bonuses, or worst case scenario, negative bonuses. So to be aware of this, I suggest you finding a guide via quick Google search and use that instead. You could also have your chefs cook you some food that you can bring into quests like well done steaks, rare steaks, and so on, and you can change the outfit too. Pretty cool. Besides chefs, you can also hire feline comrades from the recruiter as well, which are felines that help you during hunts, and like I said, these are pretty much what are known today as palicos in modern Monster Hunter games, and usually you can bring them to a quest to help you do hunts. Besides that, you can also teach them different skills they could use, such as the ability to use the flute to heal you, taunt the monsters, as well as other kinds of skills. However, if you want them to be able to learn these skills, you would have to have sufficient comrade points to do so, and training as well, which lets you choose what kind of training you want to do in order to help them and improve the stats and the respective training for combat. There's even a training option for meditating, which would allow them to get more comrade points, which kind of looks suspicious considering they're floating around. Oh, by the way, you can also change your outfit, which is unfortunate because you cannot change their armor or weapons, and it's only cosmetic. And to be able to hire more felines, whether it's chefs or comrades, all you have to do is keep progressing through the village quests. I then went back outside and oh, it seems like this NPC wants to talk. He then informs us that the farm is ready, so let's go check it out. And oh my goodness, you can go fishing, mine some minerals, plant some crops, catch some bugs, even has a cave behind the farm as well, and the feline... kinda suspicious. But he then tells us that there's something behind the wall, but only the chief and Treshi knows and no one else. Right. Now in regards to the farm, there are certain upgrades you can get like extra crop lines, more bug catching spots, more mining spots, a beehive to farm honey, mushroom trees, and so on. And to be able to get them, you need Pokepoints, like the extra points you get during quests. And to unlock more options, you'd likely have to keep progressing through the village quests. Alright, I believe I've explained most of the systems, and don't worry, there's still more. But I guarantee you that this is much less than it was previously, so why don't we do another quest, shall we? I then went to the Elder and checked what remaining quests are left to be... oh no. So this quest is going to have us get 3 Popo tongues, which should be easy, right? Well, yes, but it's not what I should be getting, it's what's going to happen that I'm slightly worried about. As you could see, normally in this zone, there are Popos usually roaming around, so it's really strange that you do not see them here. So I kept going on until I reached this zone. Yeah, the game is like showing us, oh yeah, here are the Popos. You know, the Popos that you're looking for? Yeah, they're all here, right? Yeah. They're all here. Just, oh, look, the Popos are running away. I wonder why. Is it because the snow is too unbearable? No, it's because of this bastard right here. Now, the logical thing to do is to obviously just avoid it and follow the Popos, which I did. Now, this isn't really new, as something similar has happened when I played Monster Hunter 1 with Rathalos popping up. It's just that for Tigrex, I'd say it is way more aggressive, faster, and much more in love with the floor than Rathalos. It doesn't fly as much, which sounds like a good thing, but it is not, because it is a Tigrex. It likes to run towards you for 10 minutes straight and then take a break for a minute, only to run towards you for another 10 minutes. It is really annoying to deal with, especially this early on. However, it's fine. Everything is fine. I got the tongues. I turn it in. We're done. We're done. After 3 hours of sitting and crying in a corner due to PTSD, I want to explain as to why I'm using the longsword. You see, I'm usually a hammer main, but since we're hunting smaller monsters and gathering items, I didn't really see a reason to use heavy weapons like hammer or greatsword as of yet. And how this weapon works is pretty simple. You have your triangle, which does your normal combos, your circle, which does a little light attack, and when you press both buttons at the same time, you do a wide slash while hopping backwards, which is great for getting out of trouble. And if you notice this red bar, you can see that it increases when your attacks hit the target. And what do you do when it's full? You can press the R button to do your massive anime sword combo. We then accepted a quest that has to slay 5 Geoprays, as well as another that has to slay 3 Blancos. Nothing too hard, plus this gives us more chance to gather more items and also more Poke Points. We also got guild points, which as far as I know is only for tiles for your character, which is basically cosmetic. However, if there are other things we could get with guild points, then let us know in the comments. Alrighty, that's enough waffling, because the next quest is gonna be us hunting down a Geodrome, which is quite simple. A little annoying, not because of the big raptor, but rather the smaller ones, because they sneak in damage, but due to using a longsword, I was able to dodge often and be a little more mobile, so even though the Geodrome does jump around a lot, along with the small ones, we were able to beat it quite quickly. After that, I swapped for Greatsword, which is a very simple weapon, as a triangle does a downward slash, and if you hold it, it charges up and therefore do more damage. Circle does a sideways swipe, and pressing both buttons does an upward swing. Oh, by the way, holding the R button makes you guard. We then went on to hunt the Bull Drone, which really doesn't do much, as all it really does is rush toward you, rush toward you, rush toward you, and sometimes do a side head tackle, so the fight didn't really take long. And after finishing up the quest, I then decided to use the hammer. And in case you haven't noticed from watching my previous Monster Hunter videos, yes, I am a hammer main. Pressing triangle thrice does a slam golf swing combo, circle does a light attack that you can follow up with the triangle combo, and holding the R button charges the hammer. When it's fully charged and you let go while moving, you become a Beyblade, and if you are standing still, you will do a power slam. I then resumed the quest line, fought both the Velocidrome, which is very much like the Geodrome, and the Yian Garuga, which spits out fireballs, does tail swipes and runs towards you, and flies around a lot, which is annoying to track. It's really annoying.
Oh. That was quick, and I like it.
And after being those two, we then got to the point of doing normal gathering quests. You see, usually there are two kinds of gathering quests in this game, and for the sake of making it simple to understand, they are the main gathering quest and the optional gathering quest. Now the main ones is when the quest has you go to the area and retrieve a specific item, while the optional one has you deliver a Paw Pass ticket, which you get inside this blue box and then put in the red box to complete it. So what's the point of this kind of gathering quest then? You see, the the purpose is for you to go to the area, grab whatever you need, and then use the paw pass to complete the quest, which lets you keep the items that you gathered within it. And even though you could technically gather items while doing other quests, these kinds of quests are meant for solely gathering the items you want without having to worry about other factors. As for knowing which quests are the main or side quests, let me explain. You see, there are quests that you do in order to progress to the ranks and the village quests, and these are known as key quests and then later urgent quests. And no matter what kind of quest it is, you will always have a time limit. The red arm usually is an indicator, while the white arm shows how long you've been doing the quest, and each white dot indicates 5 minutes. So if you reach the time limit, you lose, and if you faint thrice, you also lose. Now unfortunately, there isn't a way to tell which one is a key quest or a side quest. However, thanks to the technology we have today, you can use this wiki page right here in order to help you keep track. And speaking of key quests, we are now tasked to face the Kongolala, which does some disgusting stuff like fart at you, which gives you a status element that disallows you from using consumable items, and a lot of mauling and jumping at you. After beating the monkey, I didn't check to see what's next, and it's the 3 piss sign livers. So I went to drink my cold drinks because if I didn't, I'll start taking burning damage. And surprisingly, this quest took me less than 10 minutes, which is great because I totally don't like these kinds of quests. And in case you're wondering, to get these piss sign livers, you need to slay these sand fishes and carve them. And yes, I know it's Piscine, but with how doing this kind of quest is usually annoying, I'm gonna call it piss sign. And after that steaming hot trash of a quest, I then proceed to fight the Kazoo, which looks like a sex toy with wings and a pair of legs. And for those who tap back in to see what it looks like, you are now obligated to like and subscribe. So this monster likes to stretch his head, stop it, and it likes to shoot lightning balls while vibrating, stop it. And last but not least, it likes to spam Blanca's special move from Street Fighter, and I caught it. Twice. But it's fine, because after whacking its hard skin with my hammer for almost 30 minutes, stop it, I finally beat the monster. The main quest line then takes me to slay 10 Blongos, which is relatively quick, and after doing so, I then went to the farm and planted some Might Seeds and Adamant Seeds. Why? Because they make consumable items that increases your attack and defense, known as Demon Drugs and Armor Skins. And after fertilizing my consumable items with monster feces, I then resumed the quest line, which has us fight a giant crab. Which likes to hug you, push you with his claws, digs underground, and jumps like Super Mario. Which is fine because we're having salted crab for dinner. I then crafted some new armor, and I know it looks weird, and went on to fight the rubber cuckoo flash chicken, which acts similarly to a Yian Garuga but spits out poison, and with it being a giant dark cock, it also likes to flash us. And by that I mean chicken, because it does a move that confuses us in the process. Not like that, you sussy baka. And after spending 15 hard minutes with it, and therefore beating it, a miraculous thing happened, because I can now return to be the wielder of bone sticks with meaty tips. Yeah, boy. Unfortunately, the weapon is not great both in sharpness and damage, so after gathering for some items, I immediately found a better replacement. And I know it looks like a meme set, but it's not, I promise you, because while the helmet does look funny, it actually does benefit you because it increases your maximum health points by 20. And of course the Daimyo Hermitor because we really need more defense points. As for these are called decorations, and they're jewelries you can insert into your gear given that they have the slots, and some of them give stats and some of them give skills. And while some of them may give you benefits, there will also be some that would give you benefits while also taking some skills out. So make sure to check carefully whenever you're deciding on which one to use. However, being that we're still quite early on, I didn't really have a reason to invest into decorations as of yet. So I went on to do another main quest, and this time it has us fight a Blangonga. It has an attack where it throws a giant snowball that turns us into a fat snowman when we get hit by it, and in addition to that, it also could summon its minions. So do keep those little bastards an eye because they can be very annoying. After smashing the monkey for about 15 minutes straight, grow up, I then have enough points to upgrade my farm, which now brings in the beehive, which is great because now I can just keep getting honey from here. Oh, by the way, combining items usually have a chance of failing, meaning that if you meant to make a mega potion which only has a 90% chance and it fails, you'll get garbage, which is unusable and it only sells for 1 zenny. And this usually applies to every craftable item. However, there is a way to increase the success rate, and that is by purchasing these book of combos. But keep in mind that each book usually needs the previous book, and some books only affect certain items. In addition to all that, if you are crafting from your item pouch, have the books in your item pouch, because if you don't, then the success rate increase won't apply, and this also applies to crafting from your item box. So if you're annoyed of a certain monster moving so damn much and you want to trap it so it can do more damage, and instead getting garbage instead of new traps, then buy the books, because you'll need it. Because when you trap the monsters, it also means you get to do more damage. And speaking of wishing to have trapped the monsters more, we are now tasked to fight a monobloss, which likes to rush toward you, swipe its tail, and also likes to use dig, which could be either super effective, but if you're a flying type, it will not be very effective. And after 15 minutes of chasing, blasting, and smashing this monster, this fight is finally done. The next one is going to feature the Shogun Senator, which acts similarly to a Daimyo Hermitor but has additional moves like spinning slash, and it also likes to hug you, which is a quick fight because this thing doesn't last longer than 5 minutes. Grow up. After doing all that, I figured I'll soon be needing for some gear upgrades, and with that I decided to do a proper gathering quest. So besides picking things up from the floor like herbs, dungs, honey and so on, you'll also be needing gathering tools. If you see a crack on the wall, you can use a pickaxe to mine on said crack. Same applies for the bug nets for bugs, which are these little floaty shiny things, and the only thing that's missing is them saying, "Hey, listen!" And fishing, which I don't really do because I already have a fishing spot at the farm. And where do you get these tools? Well, you can purchase these from the merchant in the village. And oh, by the way, these tools have a chance of breaking. So pray that you gather everything before they all break. Technically, you could craft some of these tools, but come on. You can only gather so much until you basically run out of gathering spots before even running out of tools, unless you are super unlucky. By the way, a quick shout out to this user right here, as without them, I would have completely forgotten about quest fees. And since we're talking about it, let me explain what they are. These are essentially down payments for quests whenever accepting them, and whenever you fail the quest, whether it's by timing out, fainting and so on, you will lose the fee and have to pay it again when redoing it. However, if you complete the quest, you will get it back in addition to the receiving rewards. And this is usually the case for most older Monster Hunter games, so don't just splurge on items and gear folks, you will need some zenny to accept the quests. Aside from that, the only time I can think that you don't have to spend zenny for quest fees are probably going to be the gathering quests. I then got back from the quest, stored my items, and embarked on the next main quest, which I then immediately found out that I forgot to eat, so I restarted the quest without forgetting to eat and went on to fight the Basarios, which they mostly hide in plain sight as these rocks. So I threw a paintball at it, and oh yeah, by the way, paintballs! So paintballs are things you throw at monsters so you can track them in the map, and do keep in mind that they do expire, so remember to reapply them from time to time. This monster likes to fart a lot, like a lot, and these farts could either poison you or sleep you.
Brother editors here, seems like there may be a little bit of correction because we have not seen this Basario's fart to make you sleep as of yet. Pure heresy.
Which makes you question what they're eating on a daily basis. And despite getting farted on for 20 minutes straight, I actually beat this rock hard gassy monster. Which sounded very wrong after saying that.
It it ran into the bomb and it killed itself.
However, with all that being dealt with, leads us to this very moment, because I will now be facing my nightmare, my nemesis, the Tigrex. And this monster is merciless. And even though it may lack in flashy moves and elemental attacks, it makes it with pure physical merciless power, as it loves, and I mean loves, to just run over you, roar, spin to winning, and basically just repeating those moves non-stop. I even got pinned because it didn't want to stop those few moves that it knows.
Whoop! That was close. You fucking bastard, dude. Oh my god! I am dead, bro. I can't move. Now you know why I hate him so much. Yeah, I think we all saw that.
And even back then, this monster was rough. True story. Me and some buddies were playing multiplayer of this game, right? You know, we're having fun, we're laughing, bullying the monster, haha, so on. And then boom, out of nowhere, this monster just pulled all of us on a dead-ass stop. So hard that we took a 2-week break from this game. I mean, to be fair, we spent that time getting better gear, but still, this monster is a challenge by itself, and yes, it is way easier for me to deal with it now because I've had experience and PTSD. As in post-Tigrex stress disorder. And after whacking it for about 20 minutes straight, I trapped it and knocked it out senseless. And with this, marks us beating the flagship of Monster Hunter Freedom 2. And after doing so, I cried myself to sleep. And then I woke up the next day and prepared myself to fight some more monsters because we're doing our first ever double monster hunting quest. And the targets are a Gypsyros and a purple Gypsyros, which aren't too different from each other. I mean, sure, it has more armor and it's more aggressive, but it's really nothing super special.
Wait. No. I forgot to bring my tranquilizers. You know what? It's fine. I'll deal with it. Oh! Well, no, okay, I mean, it's only like 3 hits. Okay, we saved some tranquilizers. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, no problem. All right, we still win. A win is a win, right? A win is a win. We got the birds down. You know.
And after that, we fought a Gravios, which is a relative to Basarios, so its movesets are quite similar. However, it do the jiggles, and after smashing the jiggly parts for 20 minutes, it then gets down. And speaking of getting down, as in below the ground, we are also tasked to hunt down 2 Daimyo Hermitors, which we already have experienced, so it didn't really take a whole lot. And even with the next quest, wasn't all that difficult, because it has us fight a Diablos, which is a 2-horned relative of Monoblos, so it didn't really take too long to figure it out. But this urgent quest though, can be problematic, because it is a double monster fight and it involves a Rathian and a Rathalos. And they both can be a pain to deal with on your first time, because they're large and they like to run over you, spit fireballs, and even poison you. However, you see, normally when you go 1-1 with a monster, you have a 50-50 chance of winning! But I'm a J1 hunter and I'm not normal! So the monster got a 25 at best and beat me. And you had another monster to mix. The monster's chances of winning drastically go down. See, this 3-way fight, the Rathalos got a 33 and a third chance of winning. But I got a 66 and 2/3 chance of winning, because the Rathian knows she can't beat me, so I'll dunk bomb her and he's not even try. So take Rathalos 33 and a third chance minus my 25% chance. And he got an 8 and a third chance of winning this urgent quest. But then you take my 75% chance of winning. If we're going to go 1-1, then you add the 62%. I got a 141 and 2/3 chance of winning this urgent quest. So you see, guys, the numbers don't lie. And they spell disaster for these monsters in this urgent quest. After that, I went out and touched some plants and concrete, and then embarked on the next quest, which involves us hunting a Diablos and a Black Diablos, which is far more aggressive and faster than the regular one. And fun fact, a Black Diablos is a female Diablos that is in heat, so with it having 2 horns, does this mean that it's incredibly horny? So this entire quest took me just over 30 grueling minutes. I mean, the monsters keep digging underground, and sometimes I just failed to dodge it. We then resumed and did 2 more quests. One has us fight a Pink Rathian and another has us fight an Azure Rathalos, which are both better armored and more aggressive versions than their original ones. However, their movesets aren't different from the originals, so with my usual 141 and 2/3 chance of winning, I still beat them. And upon returning to the village elder got impressed by me using my throbbing hammer to smash these monsters. And by the way, she informed me that there's an even bigger monster that's moving towards the village, and that we should help repel it. And just look how massive this monster is. By the way, it's Shen Gaoren. And you could definitely tell that the devs were inspired by War of the Worlds or something similar. As for the mechanics, just keep hitting the legs until all of them are spicy red. Not I poured some Frank Red's hot spicy red, but rather I doused it in Thai chili oil spicy red. And then once all legs are red, keep hitting until it topples, which allows you to do more damage. And don't forget to use the Dragonators as well, as it is also more damage. And to time this mega-sized weapon properly, you would have to watch the monster and wait until it's right in front of the wall with its mouth open while it's charging an acid cannon attack. And this fight took me a while, probably almost 2 hours, because I failed the first few times and mostly by timing out. And if you're wondering why I changed my armor set, that's because whenever you're close to its legs while it's walking, you'll end up just getting tremored, which is damage loss. So I farmed for the Blangonga for its armor set because it gives tremor resistance, allowing me to move and attack freely whenever the monster is moving near me. After returning from the big hunt, we then resumed our progress and embarked on a quest that has us fight a hypnocatress. Which is very similar moves to Yian Garuga, but it hits a little harder and spits sleep balls instead of fireballs. Quest, however, okay, who thought this would be fun? Because this quest involves us slaying 20 bullfangos. I mean, it's not terrible, but despite a bull drum roaming around, but like, there are even better options for a fight. Like, why not just choose a large monster instead of like 20 bullfangos? However, speaking of other large monsters, on the contrary, we went on the next key quest to fight a Basarios. However, it is very small, which I just can't take seriously. Like, this thing is uglily cute. I know that's not a word, but deal with it. And it's like, I just can't take it seriously. Like, like, I know I killed it in 10 minutes, but still, it's like, it's cute. It's a real cute Basarios. I didn't bully Tigrex and Hypnocatrix to get their stuff for replacements because I really need armor and better sharpness. And even after getting a weapon with better sharpness, this damn Kezu is sure not feeling the damage whatsoever. By the way, this is another key quest and I carded twice. Am I cursed to card twice at least?
Sounds like a proper date. Oh no! Vestpoint! You did not just do that!
And here's the thing, do you even see the size of this winged sex? Like, I beat it. It took a while, probably almost 30 minutes, but like, I just, you know what? Never mind, I beat it. This next one is gonna be a little different. You see, this quest involves you slaying monsters, but to complete it, you need to slay at least 2 Congolalas. Now, I don't know what the real reason for having quests like this is. However, I have a little theory. The reason why I think there are quests like this is since that we're at higher rank, meaning we have better gears and tools, we need to essentially clear and maintain the areas for the regular townsfolk or new hunters who are just starting up within the story of this game. And with the fact that the Congolalas keep on coming, makes it dangerous. So we had to slay them until the quest notifies us that the supplies have arrived, so we could go back and grab the Paw Pass ticket from the red box and then complete the quest by putting it in the blue box.
Battle Brother Videus editors here. Seems like he mixed up the colors. Another pure heresy.
Oh, by the way, you just have to slay at least minimum 2 monsters for these types of quests. And I almost forgot to mention that later on, the quests don't give you items when you start, and they'll arrive much later in the quests. So make sure that by this time, you remember the general layout of the maps, or you could just use the map via a quick Google search. However, this quest is going to be an absolute pain to deal with because this urgent quest is going to have us hunt down a monobloss and a white monobloss, which is like a more aggressive version of monobloss that has tougher hides. However, even though the movesets aren't different, god damn do they dig around the lock. But despite running out of sonic bombs and traps and literally having only 1 more mega potion remaining, while the time is around 45 minutes out of 50 minutes, I still cleared this urgent quest. This fight, however, is way more disgusting and fun at the same time, as it features the Yian Garuga. This monster is known to have some combined movesets from both Yian Kutku and a Rathian, as it does a triple fireball spit and the poisonous backflip like Rathian and the run you over and the pecking combo from Yian Kutku. It also has its own signature move, which is the run and stab the floor with my face move. Literally took me over 30 minutes to beat. A little too long, but the tension that this monster gives is pretty fair. Next 3 quests were quite easy, as one of them has us fight 2 Hypnocratrice, and if you remember my Scott standard math, I was able to use my 141 and 2/3% chance to clear this quest. Same applies for the second one, which is slay minimum 2 Blangongas, and the third one, which is slay minimum 2 big blue lobsters until the Paw Pass ticket arrives. And after having done all these quests, we then unlock the final progression urgent quest for the village, and it will have us fight the flagship of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, the Nargacuga.
Here, chat. I can mimic his roars. Did that make sense? Did that sound good, chat? That was indistinguishable. Yeah, right? You know, you see that? You should cosplay as a Nargacuga.
Now, this monster can be nasty, as it is one of the fastest monsters to this day, and with it moving as fast as it did, kind of made me struggle to keep up with it. Its moves involves jumping at you, slamming the floor with its tail, as well as shoot spikes out of it. And ooh, when it gets mad, its tail becomes a little spiky, and even it turning around does damage to you, as it has blades on its forelegs. And this fight took me a while, as in the game tells you that you have about 10 minutes left. However, despite having only 1 Mega Potion and 1 Max Potion left, and pretty much being out of useful items, I still beat the monster. And if you're wondering what's next, then let me tell you, I pretty much settled to do a little bit of the Gathering Up quest. However, as of recording this right now, I've not yet set up my digital hardware to have online capabilities. However, if you want to find out on regards to that, then feel free to check my Twitch streams. And besides that, I will be doing a little bit of an interesting run in Monster Hunter Pōtaburu 3rd. So hope you guys look forward to check that out, as well as my other content on YouTube, which leads me to giving you guys a big thanks for being very supportive on Twitch. And if you enjoy these videos, then please consider supporting me on Twitch and or Patreon for as little as $1 a month, as it would help me and help keep the content going. All links in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to power slam that like button and subscribe for more. My name is Tigrex. Hope you all have a wonderful day and happy hunting.